Hi guys, it's Amanda Love Santos and welcome back to another lesson of my How to Crochet for Beginners series, where anyone can learn how to crochet. So in today's lesson, lesson number 3, I'm going to show you guys how to make a slip knot, how to yarn over, and how to chain. So in the previous video, I showed you guys a few different techniques on how to hold your hook and how to hold your yarn. So that was more of a foundation, and in this lesson, we're gonna move on to actually how to begin crocheting, which is really exciting. So we're gonna start with the slip knot. Now there are many ways to make a slip knot, but here's a method that I feel like is easiest for beginners. All right, so to begin with our slip knot, we're gonna take our tail end of yarn, and while we're looking at the palm of our hand, we're just going to lie it across our fingers. And this is about 4 to 5 inches of a tail. And then I'm just going to softly hold it with my thumb here. Now with this working end of yarn, this is the end that's longer that connects to the ball of yarn. So this is the end that we're going to wrap around our index and middle finger. But when we wrap it around, we want to make sure that this yarn is below the first. So kind of makes an X here. And then just kind of open up your fingers. Make sure that this end of yarn is still below. And then that's how you're going to just grab it. And you can kind of just take your fingers out and pull on the ends of yarn until you have a slip knot. So the slip knot is still pretty loose, so you're just going to place the loop on your hook and then just pull on the working end of yarn until it tightens enough around your hook. Now you don't want your slip knot to be too tight. You want to be able to take your hook on and off without any issues. And then if you want to see if you did it right, you should just be able to pull on your tail of yarn and it should just pop right off. So I'm going to show you guys one more method that is actually the method that I learned as a girl when I was about 5 years old. So it's really simple. So I figured I'd just throw this one in there too. I call it the double knot loop. If you just don't like making slip knots or you're just not about that method, maybe you'll like this one better. So for the double knot loop, I'm just going to take my hook and tie a double knot around it. So that's 1 knot and that's 2 knots. Now I tie it around the shaft area, which is right here. You don't want to do it in the throat area because that's going to make it smaller, as you can see. The full size of the hook is going to be right here in the throat or over here. So that's where I tie my double knot. It should also be loose, like you should be able to take your hook on and off. And then that's it. That's this method. So it's a really simple method. Obviously it doesn't come undone when you pull it. So if you want to undo your work or whatever, you just trim this off. There really isn't much of a difference. I've used this method, the double knot loop method, for many years. Never had any issues. So really just choose whatever works for you. Now we're going to move on to how to chain. A chain is the simplest crochet stitch that there is, and it's often used as the foundation or the base of your first row. We'll go into more of what that means and other ways that chains are used in the next videos. But for now, what you need to know is that for most projects, you're going to begin with chains for your foundation. Also, another tip is to make sure that your tail is at least like 3 inches long. This is going to make it easier to hide the tail. And I'll show you guys how to do that and how to hide your tails in your work where you can't even see it in another video. But it is important to leave kind of some length here on the tail. It'll be easier to hide and it'll help you as you're chaining. So So in the previous video, we covered the different methods of holding your hook and holding your yarn. So if you guys want to refer back to that video, feel free, because I'm just going to skip right over that part. So just start by holding your hook and yarn, whichever way feels most comfortable for you. And then what I like to do, I use my middle finger and my thumb to hold the tail here. Because when I'm not holding the tail, it would be really hard for me to maneuver my working yarn. Once I hold the tail of yarn, then it's tighter, so I can maneuver around the yarn. Now to begin to chain, we're going to do something called yarn over. And this is a very, very popular term in crochet, so it's obviously important that you guys learn it, but it's super, super easy. Really all that means is that you're just going to wrap your hook underneath the working yarn, where the yarn here gets caught in the hook. So again, you're just going to take your hook and just swoop it underneath the working yarn where it gets caught. So it needs to get caught in that hook area. So that's the first part, is just yarn over. Now the second part is to actually pull it through this loop on your hook. So how do you do that? Really, you just have to maneuver the hook downwards and just pull it through the loop. And that's one chain. So yeah, just yarn over, then you just turn the hook where it's facing down and just pull it through the loop. Again, yarn over, turn the hook downwards and pull through the loop. Yarn over, turn the hook downwards and pull through the loop. So each time you pull through, you're actually creating a new loop. And notice how I'm holding onto this tail still. That is what's allowing me to easily maneuver the yarn. And the longer that this gets, like I kind of move with it. So I always want to hold it like right beneath my hook. So as I'm going, I'm actually going to move those two fingers naturally upwards. So you don't have to like move it with each chain, but I would say like every, I don't know, just whatever feels natural for you. For me, it's like every 3 or 4, I just kind of move my hands up naturally. So just kind of find your own rhythm as you're chaining and just do whatever's comfortable for you. As you just continue chaining and practicing this, you're going to see that your stitches come out more consistent. So the tension is more consistent, like this yarn here is coming out smoother, it's coming out with a consistent kind of flow, and then your movements will start to get more consistent too. So just practice that, and then in the next video, in part number 4, I'm going to show you guys how to actually begin your very first row of single crochet. So stick around and continue learning with part number 4. So feel free to leave any questions that you may have in the comments below. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button right here. And if you want to continue to learn how to crochet, then click on the playlist right here on top for the entire video series. And if you want to get started with a tutorial for beginners, then click on my most recent crochet tutorial right here on the bottom. So I hope you guys have a blessed week, stay creating, and I'll see you guys on the next video.